Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Melissa Del Toro Schaffner with me here today. Welcome, Melissa. You are a former electrical engineer with an MBA. I don't know, is that like a Marine, once an electrical engineer, always an electrical engineer?
I think so.
MBA in the construction industry. You've worn a lot of hats, and now a full-time voice actor, audiobook narrator, editor, and mother of an elementary schooler living in Peoria, Arizona, which is where I am right now, which is awesome. And since starting your business in 2015, you've managed to grow each year while pivoting focus several times and juggling entrepreneurship as in the mom life. That's awesome. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you.
All right. So there's a lot there. Do you want to talk a little bit about transitioning from techie side to more of the artsy aspects?
Sure. I would love to. First of all, thank you, anybody who's joining us and listening. We really appreciate your attention and your time. We know there's other places you could be. So thank you for listening to little old me. So transitioning. Well, first of all, when you're 17 years old and they ask you what you want to do with the rest of your life, right, I'm guessing most of us have no clue.
Right.
So I basically did one of the two things that I thought, I could do, which was be a teacher like my mother or an electrical engineer like what my father was. And I was like, well, I don't want to die hungry. So probably engineering, because teachers in this country, whatever, God bless you, you should get paid hazard pay. So I went the engineering route. All my life, I was a very artistic person. My nickname when I was a child was Sarah Bernard, because I was just like, and I came home and they were chasing me. And my mother's like, wow, that's a lot. You need to bring it down a couple notches. But I've always been like that. I played Barbies. Everybody had a name, a family lineage. There were people who couldn't date each other. They had different voices and accents. So I was always playing like that with my toys. But because I wanted to make a good career, I went the technical route. In hindsight, they both fit for my personality. So I kind of fell into the construction industry, to be honest. I didn't go into there on purpose. I was in a place in my career where I was working in, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It kind of felt like too small of a place for me. I felt like I wanted to be in a bigger metropolis with lots of opportunities and culture, and it just didn't feel right. So I moved to Seattle and I got into the construction industry by accident because I was in MBA school looking for a job. And I just happened to meet somebody who's like, I have a friend who works in construction. I was like, yes, I need a job. I'll do anything. I'll get you coffee, Chinese takeout, whatever you need. I need a job. So they were awesome. And they brought me on board, quickly found out that I'm a very technical, organized person. I create, clarity out of chaos kind of thing. So as I went up the ranks, I became a project manager in construction, which was a very, very good fit for me, by the way. And one of the things that didn't fit very well is because I really love happiness and positive team collaboration. And I don't know if you're working in a workplace right now in the construction industry that has sort of like this, kind of feeling. It's not there. That's just not a thing. We don't work like that. So my personality is very animated, even my face. Like I love it. I'm full of characters in my head. So we
do have this podcast on YouTube for those of you who are listening and you want to go check the video out later.
My face. But yeah, so essentially, I was always playing the character of, badass, serious construction supervisor, project manager, butt-busting kind of person, which is fine. And I enjoyed that role. But eventually, I felt like I really felt drawn to the creative industry.
A little stifling, maybe, for your heart personality. craves.
I think a lot of people want self-actualization. I think that's one of the top needs of human beings on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs or something, is to find your mission and fulfill it and do something that feels very natural that you can
Right.
contribute to society. And I felt like I was a cartoon. I felt like my character ability was strong, was strong within me. And
Right.
I was always watching cartoons, even into my 30s when I met my husband. That's all you would ever find
Okay.
on my TV. So, yeah, so you asked me an original question.
Right. Right. Sorry, I want to interject. Have you ever
No, it's fine.
heard Jim Carrey's commencement speech he gave?
Oh, he's given so many good speeches. I don't remember
Right.
which
It was, I think, at
particular one.
Maharaja's University. It's, you can see the recording if anybody's watching. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
But there's a part of it where he talks about how his dad was really talented and really in the same sense Jim was, right? He was very funny and all this, but
Yeah.
he chose the safe route for his family,
Yeah.
and didn't pursue his inner passions and still got fired, years later. And they were, basically almost homeless and cleaning buildings and stuff, which I cleaned buildings with my family when I was
Yeah.
younger too.
I've done it too. I've painted
Right,
rooms for my family.
right, right. But the lesson was you can fail when you even take the safe route, so you might as well go for what you know
Yes. It
what your
is
passion is.
it is so true.
Anyway,
It is
so
so true.
so that's kind of what you sort of reminded me of, to playing it safe, but really not being congruent with your inner self.
Well, and that's very, very insightful because as I progressed in the engineering industry, I flip-flopped back and forth depending, because I've moved a lot in my life. I was in Pennsylvania, then I moved to Washington State, then I moved to Texas, and we moved to New York City, and now we're here in Arizona. And when you move around the job market a lot, you have to reinvent yourself a lot because you're not going to find the exact same opportunities in every place you go.
Sure.
So there's just so much to unpack here. I don't want to confuse myself, but I was in a place where I was telling you in the story about that I was working in the construction industry, but I just really felt this pull towards a creative industry. And then you were talking about how you have to take a risk whether you take the safe route or not. And for
Right.
me,
Right.
I kept getting laid off and in one instance fired, which that was really bizarre. I lived with grief for about 10 years until somebody told me that everyone in my team was fired after I left, which I was just like, who would fire Melissa? Like, I'm one of the best workers. Like, you don't fire me. Like, and
You took it personally.
yeah, I really did. I felt unemployable. I am not kidding you. If you've ever been fired on this, you're listening to this, I felt for like a year unemployable. Like I am a horrible because
Wow.
I was born to succeed, to excel, to beat expectations, and then somebody fires you and you're like, I tried, I did everything right. Anyway, but what I found was you take the safe route and it doesn't matter because every other job I was getting fired, laid off, uh, mostly laid off, or I quit because I wanted to do stuff. Like I traveled all over the world and I asked my employer, like, hey, can I have 2 weeks so I can go to Alaska to go dog sledding? And they were like, absolutely not. And I was like, well, that's kind of too bad because I already bought the plane ticket and I'm actually already going, so I guess this makes it awkward. So anyway, the leap into
Your 2 weeks request turned into 2 weeks notice.
basically, I was like, hey, I have everything tied up, everything's all, like ready to go. I have people who can cover anything that comes in. So I have this request, and they're like, and it's the best thing I ever did for myself, Tim. I'm telling you, because Alaska's magical. It was like, pristine wilderness, dog sledding with 6 dogs in front of you and just the bitter wind in your face. Like it was just beautiful. And life is full of experiences like
Yeah.
that if you let it be. And nobody's going to give you that. You have to kind of decide that that's what you want and
Right.
then
You have to
and
be
then make a
intentional
way.
and go out and find it.
Yeah. So very, very long, making it more shorter. When we moved here to Arizona and my father had Parkinson's, he was not well. I moved here with my 1-year-old daughter at the time. and my husband. And my husband actually ended up taking care of him the last 9 weeks of his life, which was very cathartic for him because his relationship with his father was, difficult. And my father, and have a man, my father having a man taking care of him at the end of his life was very like traumatic for him because he's like a man's man. But they had the most beautiful bond. And towards the end, you could just see my father was so relaxed. My husband and him were just like father and son. And it really healed the two of them. I'm grateful we came here and take the leap because neither one of us had a job coming here. Neither one of us had a promise. I don't even know how we got this house and 2 cars, but somehow everything lined up so that this was our mission. This is where we were supposed to be. And so we took that leap and we made it happen. And I think that for career transition and anywhere you want to go, you need to see what you have. What am I already working with, the raw materials of me? And then what do I need to be taken seriously in the next thing? And usually you can volunteer some of those skill sets out for your resume. I volunteered at Learning Ally in New York City to get experience for, say, doing audiobooks, So you get the experience, and then you put on your resume that I'm organized, this and that. And nowadays, resume is a really weird thing with AI and Chat GPT, but whatever. And you become the version of yourself that has that job before you actually get it. And then when the job
you grow into it.
Yeah. Well, actually, you just are it. You just make a choice one day that this is what I am now. When I moved to Austin, Texas from Seattle, and I had no experience in power and renewable energy. Like, that's not my kind of electrical engineer. But you know what I did, Tim?
I'm all ears.
The pause was for drama, everybody. What I did was I freaking literally made business cards with windmills on them with my name. I don't know anything about windmills, but I put them on the business card with my name, renewable energy, and I went to like networking events, and I handed out my business card because I wanted to be in renewable energy at the time, and I went to job expos and job fairs, and I handed out this business card. I didn't know if that was going to work, but I'm like, hey, this is me now.
Okay.
And lo and behold, I was able to secure a project manager job at a renewable energy firm. Not necessarily because, this or that, but I had the skill sets they needed. I packaged myself up as so.
And you can't fake it until you make it in that role.
Right, but I had to deliver.
Yep. You still have to show up and produce.
Yeah. So I didn't know much about power, so that was one of the first things I kind of brushed up on is like, how does the power get distributed? What are the, that wasn't my strong suit in school. I was better at like holograms and some of the math classes, but you get good at what you need to get good at, right?
Right.
So anyway, that was one example of career transitioning, career pivoting into voiceover. What I did was when we were living in New York City, which was right before the jump to Arizona, I made a demo with a friend, which is your audio resume of all the things.
Was that fun and scary?
It's fun and scary, especially now. If you want to be a voice actor now, you really need to get it professionally done. Back 10 years ago, it was a little different because not everybody had a home studio. It's quite different post-COVID.
Right.
But I went to an event at the Museum of Moving Image in Astoria, New York and Queens, which was the Society of Voice Arts and Sciences has a big soiree, and they were honoring James Earl Jones that year for his lifetime achievement. It was the shoulders I was rubbing with. It was
right.
We had talked about networking before this, this episode, and that was everything because I started to meet the pivotal pillars of the people who would help propel me to the next thing and the next thing and the next event and the next convention. And before long, you build a community around yourself of people who are like what you want to be. And eventually you become it.
Yep. That's good. So that must have been challenging, though, branching out from kind of a more traditional W-2 role into an entrepreneurial position.
Yeah, it really is. You have to be prepared to find money wherever it's coming from, wherever it is. um, the mindset shifting from employee to entrepreneur is like diving off a cliff. It is the scariest thing ever because now you have only you. And you have to talk to other humans, which, ooh, gross, right? You have to
Some people
find,
enjoy it.
well, some people might like it. I didn't.
Okay.
Because I was an engineer and I liked working on projects. I didn't really like the sales part, having to sell myself.
Right.
I'm able to secure things that I know that I need to pay the rent. But when it comes to a consistent funnel of opportunities, it's quite difficult to continue to forge relationships with people and say, hey, I'm offering this. But as I've done it since 2015, I started my business and now it's 2025, it's gotten easier every year. Like, hey, I'm okay with if you don't need it. I'm just saying I have it. And
Yep.
if you love it, I love to work with you. If you don't, or I can refer you to somebody else maybe you would love. But
Right.
you cannot have an attachment to like a paycheck in the entrepreneurial world.
Right. Yeah, you got to go out and provide value, solve
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah, you really do. And you have to reinvent yourself. Hey, if they're not hiring voice actors, maybe they're hiring project managers to manage voice, a voice over or a
Right.
production or something. So we had talked
Right.
before.
You can, I mean, when yeah, when you're running a project, sometimes you fill into something else. Isn't that how the Minion guy started?
The
His
minion.
Minion voice,
Oh, I
right?
don't know. Tell
He's
me
a
the
French,
story.
he's the French. Yeah, he's a producer or something on Despicable Me. And he made
Really?
up his own, he made the Minion voice or whatever. And everybody's like, oh, just do that. And he's like, oh, so he started doing the voice of the Minions.
I
Yeah,
had no
because,
idea. That's so cool. I love
right?
that
Yeah.
story. Yeah, that is so
Yeah. Look
cool.
up the official version of it. It's
Okay.
good.
Okay. Okay, we'll put all the
Okay.
links, but all the links. No, don't. I won't tell you to do that because I have one more thing to do.
Okay, misconceptions about the
Mhm.
industry. What were some surprises, or maybe getting I get, what do you call the voice actor
Voiceover,
industry?
voice acting. Yeah,
Voiceover,
voice
voice
acting.
acting. Okay.
Yeah, actually, there's no agreement. So some people say voiceover artist, some people say voice actor. So the SEO on
Huh.
people's websites are just like using every single thing because there's no like
Right.
one thing that we
Okay.
call it. Um, the misconception. This is the biggest one. Is when somebody says, "Ooh, you have a voice that you could be on radio. Have you thought about doing voice acting?"
Yeah, I have a
Like,
face for radio. I've heard that.
but seriously, everybody has a voice for voice acting because what I have learned is it's not about the voice, it's about the acting, big A.
Okay.
And that is why a lot of casting directors are going for actors.
Huh.
And you've probably watched movies where the actor's a horrible voice actor, but they're an actor, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. There's been a few where I'm like, that's not a very entertaining sound for that
yeah.
character or something,
Yeah.
but
Or
it's
just boring. It's just like, this is stupid. Like, I know that if you're listening, you've watched a movie where you've heard voiceover where you're like, I can't. Or even an audiobook where you're listening and you're like, I can't with this guy. Um, it really has to do with like any musician. I know that you had said that you're into music, how
Mhm.
you use your instrument and how you emote, how you absorb the material, you make it your own, and then you because most of the voiceover you're doing it without people seeing your face. You need to know how to project what
Right.
you're feeling or even the consistency like if you adopt an accent, the consistency of that accent throughout the whole work. Like one
Right.
break can destroy the
Not
wall,
to
you
not to
know?
read the lines in a particular voice, but to perform them.
Yes, to perform them and one of the things I learned recently from one of my voiceover coaches, Paul Liberty, is it's the character. It's about the character. Like
Right.
you, Tim, are a character of sorts. I, Melissa, am a character of sorts. You put us in a situation, we kind of know how they're going to react, right? Like I'm not super crazy. And I'm not going to jump off a cliff. I'm kind of conservative, but I might if somebody I love falls off the cliff. Maybe somebody will jump off a cliff because I just love it because it's so fun. But yes, all about character. So that is the one misconception is that it's about the sound of your voice. It's not the sound. It's It's the characters of the
Right.
acting
The
of what you're
delivery.
bringing to it, the delivery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. You reminded me. I mean, yeah, that's interesting because there are some people who can do good voices, but they also have to imagine have a passion for it, right?
Yes.
And really be into it. How about voice audiobook narration and such?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting because just as of the last couple years with AI and ACX is, offering authors the option to use AI narrators.
Huh.
And really, at the end of the day, it comes down to listener experience. If you're
Okay.
okay with somebody saying record instead of record, then maybe you like AI. But if you
Right.
want a performance that absorbs the material, understands why I'm
Right.
saying what I'm saying,
Right.
and then projects it back, I would say for voice actors, anybody who's starting and sounds as good as AI will be replaced with AI because it's a cheaper method to go.
Yeah.
And if it's like,
Yeah.
if you're if you're kind of okay, then probably you're not going to find work in this industry. But it's possible to get better, as with everything.
Right.
And as you train, you realize like when you sound like you're reading and when you've actually absorbed the material and you're parroting it back, like it's your own words, which is what actors do all the time on
Right.
movies, but you don't see it because they do it so well, you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah. That's it's being human.
Yeah. Be
For
be
right, being
authentic. Be
emotional,
yourself.
authentic.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
authentic. Your heart comes through. Anne Hathaway is brilliant because like when she acts, she like turns red when she's crying and she can like just bring all of this that you're like, "Oh my gosh, is she okay?" But like she's
Right.
acting.
Right. Right.
This is what yeah.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks nowadays, and some authors, like, it's interesting to hear them sometimes, but they shouldn't be reading it. Oh, so like Can't
Yeah,
Hurt Me
the
by
authors
David.
as narrators.
Yes. Sometimes I
Yes.
love it, right? Sometimes they know they shouldn't do it. So it it depends. Um, uh, for example, Can't Hurt Me with David Goggins. He doesn't
Mhm.
read it, but he does talk about each chapter with the narrator after the chapter, which is kind of insightful,
Oh, cool.
right? Which is kind of neat. But Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, which was very
Yes.
good because he doesn't just read it; he performs it, right? He's
Yeah.
he's he's very good at that. But yeah, the authors often know exactly what they meant when they were writing it, and they can get emotional about certain parts of it and stuff, which can be awesome. And some of them are just super talented and fun. Uh, One I really liked was I just got back from the UK and I was in Scotland and stuff, and
Oh, I
I
love
re-listened
Scotland.
to I think it's called urban fantasy or something. It's like a modern day sort of. It's this old Scottish guy and out of Glasgow doing like artsy stuff, whatever. But it's this whole universe created by Kevin Hearn, and the guy who reads his books is called Luke. His name is Luke Daniels, and he is amazing. He can do
So good.
all the voices so well, all the different
Yeah.
accents and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's amazing to watch. So
Yeah.
I re-listened to it just for him,
I love
just
that.
because
I
just
love
because
that.
of the narrator, right?
I love that. I guess it's sort of a plug, but you're a podcaster, and I was also podcasting up until July 2025. I was producing my own podcast I co-founded with a gentleman who's a writer here in Arizona.
Okay,
There
cool.
again, like you had talked about networking. It was COVID. What had happened is in 2019, well, how do I talk about it? Okay. So the reason why this happened is because I wanted to market myself and have a place to always say yes to myself. So I wanted to start a podcast. As a narrator, you have to find material to narrate. So I was
Right,
thinking, do I go to the library and read books from the shelves? And then, the copyrights and the rights holders. And are you even
right,
allowed to narrate that book because it belongs to someone else?
right. Go
So
to
I
public
started,
domain stuff
yeah,
and
public
yeah,
domain. And then does anybody want to hear you reading? I don't know.
right.
The Grapes of Wrath just came to my head, but I don't I
Maybe
don't
you
know.
talk about maybe you could deliver like your slant on the news in different characters'
Yeah, or
voices. I don't
something.
know.
Maybe that'd be good, but I was going around to different networking events to try and find authors who had
Right.
written stories that maybe I could partner with. And I found a gentleman, Jeff Robinson. He was amazing. He'd written so much. And so I asked him, do you want to start a podcast? And he said, no. I said, okay. And then I went back to him and I said, would you like to start a podcast? And he said, no.
How about now?
And I was like, and so I have a 9-year-old. So like, would you like to start a podcast? And then 2020 hit and everything shut down. And I said, would you like to start a podcast? And he was like, yes. Because he
Did you
couldn't
ask
do
him in one of those voices?
would you like to start a podcast?
Yeah.
And
How can you say no to that?
no, how can you say no to that? So we ended up running for, well, it's still going, but I had popped out because I wanted to make some room in my schedule for some of the upcoming stuff I'm working on. But we went for 4 seasons strong, and you'll hear it's called the Untold Tales podcast. It actually won the AMPI Creator Award in 2023, I think, from ASU.
Nice. Very cool.
Arizona State. Sorry, Penn State. I went to Penn State, and like I love everybody. And so I grew so much through my storytelling. So if you listen to it, it's untold-tales.com. And that's our podcast page. And it's original short stories, science fiction short stories.
Oh, cool.
I love science fiction. I'm a total nerd. He's like, me too.
Yep.
Yep. And so I got a lot of practice in the audiobook space where, like it was audio drama actually, but, one narrator doing the whole book with all the characters. And I voiced probably at this point hundreds and hundreds, maybe 1,000 characters for that podcast. Unique characters.
That's got to be it's got to be a lot of fun, but also challenging. Probably helps you grow your repertoire a lot too.
It does. I actually even hired an accent coach for several of the roles in the podcast because and also I had to hire an accent coach for like this gentleman wrote a book called Relics of Dawn, A.W. Davidson. It was an amazing book, long 16-hour audiobook, but there was like an Indian man in there. Like there was different accents in there that I don't. So I had to learn how to, and people are going to be like, do your Indian man accent. I don't know, but I had to learn a little bit like how to talk like this, like just the flavor, not to be offensive, but to give the flavor like, I know who that would be.
Yeah, you're going by audio. You have to discern which character is speaking and stuff.
Yeah, and I had to do like lots of different accents in the last couple books. And when I used to talk about it, even like 2 or 3 years ago, I'm blushing, I'm embarrassed. But I realized, and you have to realize that these are people in these books. These are characters.
Yeah.
You're telling their story. You're trying to do it with authenticity to give respect to this person who the author wrote about. And that's how I focus on men, women, children, There's a monkey bear in one of them, and he's very serious, the monkey bear, but like he's an alien, but he's a little bear. And so, that's the voice I chose for him. And I felt very like happy about my performance choices for those characters. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what other people thought. I'd love to know.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Interesting challenges that you have in that space. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So as we start wrapping up the interview, I would like to ask you, have any exciting plans or initiatives for the next 12 months?
Oh, gosh. It's very interesting you ask that because I have been sort of having my head down doing work and not working on my business, but just doing the work
working in the business.
Yeah. And I have realized that I really need to extract myself and recalibrate because the original reason why I went into voice acting was because I wanted to be a voice in a Pixar movie, honestly. Like, that's what I want to do. And so I have been moving towards animation instead of
Is John Ratzenberger your hero then? Or is that his name?
All of them. I mean,
but hasn't he been in every Pixar movie?
I think he had, John Ratzenberger. They hire celebrities. I know that. So anybody listening, like, girl, like, get a grip. They hire celebrities. But sometimes they do hire unknown voices for some of these bigger movies. And you have to audition for them alongside you have to audition for them alongside the celebrities. And sometimes they choose a celebrity for their audience to make sure that the movie's a success and it sells. And
Name
sometimes,
recognition.
yeah, and sometimes maybe you're the guy. Maybe you're the unknown that makes it pop.
Right.
Like, wow, I never heard that person before and I kind of love her.
Right.
you
You bring
know?
the right energy for the role.
Yeah, exactly. So last oh God, time is flying so fast. But last 2024. Okay, so December, I was nominated for Best Animation Demo by the Society of Voice Arts and Sciences in
Excellent.
Burbank, California, which was an amazing. I worked a year. I had a GoFundMe to pay for it. My demo,
Okay.
all my friends and
Okay.
family are part of this
Nice.
win.
Nice.
And so I was nominated. So that was kind of a first step of credibility for me, is to be nominated by a jury of my peers.
Right. Right.
That you've reached a point where you understand, you're effective, right?
Right.
So this year I have been doing a lot of audiobook editing work, which is amazing. It pays the bills. I'm very good at it. So if anybody's an author and wants to do an audiobook, I'm a person who you can talk to. Even if you don't like my voice, I have lots of friends.
Right.
So, so,
Okay. Excellent.
so that's one thing. But to get closer to that animation goal, I'm actually in a community, Tara Strong's community. She's the voice of Raven, Bubbles, Harley Quinn, and I'm in her
Okay.
community now to learn some of the ropes. And one of the great things about her community, Voicelings, is that she has her friends, the voice of Siri, Dora, they listen to our auditions in that group.
Okay. That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome. That sounds like a voice mastermind.
Yeah, so voice mastermind. So you had told me before about how important networking is and how a lot of us just like, I don't really love networking, but it's important to put yourself in the places where people can hear you
Yep.
or learn or have an experience with you to say, wow, Tim really knows his stuff and I love his energy. I want to learn more. And you can't do that by sitting at home or just doing the work in your
Right.
business and not things like this.
Yep. Right. You also want to be around people who think what you want to do is really easy. They've already done it.
Yes. And what you want to do is important, because I've worked with campaigns out here with voiceover to, sell my services. And a lot of people want to pay nothing, a couple of $5 or a couple of dollars for voiceover, which understood we're business owners, we're entrepreneurs. But, I have bills to pay as well. And I have a business
Sure.
to run as well, just like anybody who has a business has bills to pay. And I provide a valuable service. It just happens to be my heart, and it just happens to be my ability to emote. But when you're talking about customer experience, you want that connection to your stuff. If you throw an AI voice on your phone lines, great,
Right.
good enough. But maybe
Right.
people don't need a relationship with you when they're calling to find out the balance on their bill. It's great.
Right.
But maybe if you're doing a documentary, or maybe if you're doing, commercial work, or maybe if you're talking about, this beautiful real estate that you want, there's a $30 million plot of gorgeousness. Maybe you
Right.
want to
You're
have
selling
somebody.
the emotions and the future associated with that.
Yes. And I don't believe yet, I suppose it's getting better every day, but that AI can replace the human heart. I'm hoping that it can't. I'm hoping that people will crave real experiences and real connections.
Right. I think that's going to be, I think that's true. I think it's going to be a big part of it. That's why I think something like this longer form content, video clips, are getting more popular because of the authenticity, right? They're getting real human understanding and connection, seeing that we say and speak with some of the same issues like that the rest of people do. And I get a kick out of when I do talk to AI sometimes, and it puts those in to sound more human.
Yeah. And it's great. It's great. It's fine. If I had somebody here that would do the dishes instead of the artwork, that'd be nice, because I could use AI for like home chores, or picking out meals and preparing food. But yeah, I don't think that you can replicate the connection like we're having today, and hopefully, and YouTube recognizes it, because YouTube is actually penalizing or removing monetization from people who are using AI videos, like cranking them out like hotcakes. And I've seen a lot of them, and they're okay, but you walk away and you just feel sort of sort of something. You don't really
Right.
feel anything about it, you know?
Right. Yeah. The
Um,
deeper connection is what we crave
yeah,
for
I think
sure.
so.
Okay.
I hope so.
Excellent. Excellent. A lot of good stuff there, Melissa. Thank you. So,
Yeah.
um, a reflection question I like to ask
Yeah.
people is what do you wish you knew sooner about building wealth and success earlier in your career?
You know, I came from poor, I want to say poor parents, poor financially, but we always had what we needed. Um, I think rich people who are rich from the start come into this world with parents who know how to um, structure their finances when they are young. I'm
You
still
don't get
learning.
it in public schools. They don't teach you
No,
a lot of that
no,
there.
you don't. But you get, you get what can be provided on a public budget, which I mean, teachers just don't get paid enough to even get out of bed in the morning. They do it for the love. But I would say my parents taught me to save money, but I never, even when I was making over 100,000 a year, I did not feel like I had any money because at the end of the month I have no money. I pay my rent, I pay everything. I have a couple of coffees, and boom, saving. But not only saving money because the money doesn't grow fast enough. You
Hmm.
need to know how to protect it. I know that
Put it to
in
work.
yeah, in hindsight, probably having had a business to filter the money through could have been helpful in my 20s. Just starting a business. I have an S corporation, but a lot of people have an LLC.
Right.
Just starting a business, and God, there's just so many things. Running a business, you become all the hats. It's just entrepreneurship, I think, is entering the schools, entering a lot of the curriculums. And I think that it's going to be really important with people's jobs being displaced by
Right. Right.
AI.
I think
Entrepreneurship
that
is going to shoot up through the roof, I think.
right. I hope so. I think so too. I think the
Hmm.
tools are there. I think it's
Yes.
making it easier than ever to do it. And I think it's a great lesson for what the market works on, right? You go in, you provide value and you
Yes.
solve problems, and it allows people to find their own path and
Yes.
do that themselves. And as you
Yes.
said, it's kind of the gateway to financial literacy,
Yes. Yes.
which is
I
very
think
important.
so. And poor people, and I would lump myself in sort of it with poor slash medium. We think about paying bills, but really whenever you're wealthy in mind and spirit and financially, you're thinking of how your money can be employed for you. You're thinking about how your money can be currently working for you
Right.
so that so it's like little employees. Each dollar bill's like an employee
Yep.
and it's out there
Yep. You
working.
start realizing instead of trading your time for money, right? You start trading
Yeah.
your money for time so you don't have to do that the other anymore.
Yeah. And I'm learning that just now, high yield savings accounts, all of that. If I had known high yield savings account maybe when I was younger and I put a few dollars in it by now, I would have probably a pretty respectable little egg.
Right.
But at this point, I'm focused on my daughter and I'm focused on what she could be building because she's really good at like art and she's really good at Roblox. And I mean, like, those are the space. YouTube, like, she knows it in and out. She knows what people love to watch. She knows what to create. She'll put
Right.
something up on social media, it'll get like 16,000 views. I put something up on social media like 200, and I'm like,
Right.
but what you put up there is stupid. You know, like, but
Well,
but
yeah.
she knows what the people want, and she's like
Right.
doesn't spend time obsessing about it. So to answer your question, I think just knowing how to structure my personal finances in a way to employ my dollars to grow would have been a lesson I would have loved to have learned when I was in the single digits rather than
Sure. Okay. Okay.
however
Yep.
many
Yep.
digits I
Yep.
am now.
That's a good answer. Common answer. A lot of people say they wish they would have been a little more financial savvy sooner.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
okay. Melissa, if people would like to connect with you or learn more, what can they do?
Yeah. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and all of the places. But the best thing to do would probably be to go to my website and just check out my work, www.melissadeltoro.com. That's the main page where you can find all my services. On Instagram, I'm Melissa Del Toro _voiceover. And on LinkedIn, I believe I'm Melissa I Del Toro. But you can find
Okay.
me in any of those places or just Google me. I'm there.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. That was great. Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Thank you, Melissa Del Toro, for joining me today. Very much appreciate you sharing your insights to the industry and success, and not just the voiceover industry, but just following your heart in general. Thank you, Melissa.
I appreciate you, Tim, and I appreciate the audience. Thanks, everyone.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.